Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and says, my male 27 family wants me to break up with my girlfriend, female 22, after how she responded to my brother's male 22 prank. Hi Reddit, long time lurker, first time poster. I know how the title sounds, but I could honestly use some outside perspective since anyone else I could ask is biased towards the situation. I've been dating my girlfriend Lola for about 2 years now, and overall things have been great. My brother Ian has always been pretty weird whenever she comes up or is around. Ian and I are very close, talking to each other daily, but the conversation will usually change gears right as I start talking about anything Lola related. I thought maybe he was jealous of the time I was spending with her, or maybe a little crush on her. Still, whenever we'd get together, he'd make comments about our age gap, poke fun at me for simping, and joke about her sleep disorder. Ian's always enjoyed a good prank, either pranking or being pranked. He loved to laugh, and I genuinely believe that when he goes to prank people, he means it in a way to share the laughter. When he's tried to pull little pranks on Lola though, he does things that he figured out triggers her disorder, like making sudden loud sounds, jumping out to scare her, and one time I caught him before he was going to do the shaving cream sleep bit while she was taking a nap in the guest room. I warned him in more detail then that he shouldn't mess with her while she's sleeping, as interrupting her regulated cycles isn't good for her, and at the absolute best, she's the worst kind of cranky when she's woken up. Ian looked like he understood, and I thought that was that. I threw a New Year's Eve party a few days ago and invited Ian and a bunch of mine and Lola's friends. Everyone was having a good time. My watch went off with the alarm that we set up for Lola to take a nap. She went off with a sleepy smile. I kept partying. A while later we all heard a scream, followed soon after by cussing and something breaking. I panicked as it was from my room where Lola was, and I ran through nearly kicking the door down to find she shoved someone down and was yelling at them. I looked to see who it was and saw a spider mask that I unfortunately recognized as Ian's from years ago. I saw him scrambling to get away, but she only stopped when 3 of her friends pushed past me to pull her up and check her before she ultimately passed out in their arms. Ian scrambled off the floor and ripped the mask off, revealing the work she'd managed to do in the time it took us to react. He started bawling, telling me that she was insane and abusive, that he only wanted to make sure she wasn't going to sleep through the ball drop. At this point, everyone started yelling. Ian looked terrified and kept repeating that she was crazy and that I shouldn't be with someone who could do this to her boyfriend's brother. Some of my guys were yelling that if she did this to him, she could do it to me. All of her friends were screaming about how we should know to leave a sleeping girl alone and how it was creepy. Ian ended up calling our mum to tell him that Lola hurt him and she's furious. Lola's friends ended up carrying her out against my protests, and my friends were nearly split down the middle. I remember standing there while everyone argued while the ball dropped. My mother calling me for the 10th time, and Lola finally texting me that she needs space to think. Since then, we've lightly texted. She expressed that she can't shake her fear of what happened, but she still hasn't told me from her side what happened. Ian and my mum are trying to convince me to break up with her and chastising me for not helping or standing up for my brother when he was being assaulted, and demanding an apology for not playing my part as an older brother. Ian has FaceTimed a few other family members and now my aunt, who paid for both our colleges and the house my mum and brother live in, and helped me get my apartment, and has taken a 3-hour drive up to make sure her boys are okay, which is stressing me out even more. On one hand, I know family is family, and I should do what I can to stand up for people who helped raise me and become the person I am. On the other hand, Lola is my girlfriend. I adore her. I love her. I feel like I should be there to protect her. I don't want to push her boundaries by not talking to her is a different kind of hurt. Ian is convinced that he was doing a well-intentioned prank and was wrongfully punished for wanting to make sure everyone was enjoying themselves. I don't know if I believe that, but I've known Ian for 22 years. Growing up, We were inseparable. I don't want to doubt him just because love may be blinding me. How do I approach the situation with Lola? How can I convince my family that Lola isn't a threat? She's honestly the most sweet and caring person. She just can't be woken up, and part of me feels like she was pushed to that point. Now, obviously, your brother's 100% in the wrong, and there's several things that jumped out to me immediately, like he does things that he figured out triggers her disorder. What the actual hell? And makes jokes about her sleep disorder. And without anything else in this story, I found it fucking weird that he's sneaking around her, going into the room when she's sleeping anyway. That just feels like weird ass behavior. I'm just trying to imagine a scenario. It's giving me the ick even trying to think about it, of me trying to prank one of my brother's wives now in this same situation. My brothers would whoop my ass, and rightly so. There were some relevant comments on this situation, so there was some more information about OP's family and why he feels the need to be on their side. OP says, after my dad left, everyone on my mum's side came together to help her get back on her feet after she lost her house and was on the brink of losing her kids too. My mum had my sister and me young, and unfortunately, she couldn't finish high school taking care of young twins with my grandmother dying soon after. My aunts and extended family all came together to help raise us, get my mum the help she needed, made sure we had what we needed for school, life, and really saved us from not just homelessness, but worse. I have such high respect for my family because I know what they did for me. My aunt personally tutored me after I was diagnosed with a learning disability, and it's because of her that I made it to graduation, let alone college. I joked that I wanted to be like her when I grow up, and now to know that the same people that I owe my very life now to are upset with a choice I made has made me so incredibly anxious. I freeze up thinking about it, just like I froze up in that room, and I don't know what to do. I love her, I know I do. I'm flustered. Hope had to comment saying one of her friends from the party just texted me to chew me out for choking up at the party instead of standing up for Lola. A lot of choice words were said, but the thing that stuck out to me was her calling my brother insensitive for not only disturbing her, but using a phobia against her. It just clicked for me that he had a spider mask. Lola has severe arachnophobia. I know this, and I'm racking my brain trying to think if Ian knew that or it was just bad luck that he decided to pull this stunt with that. Someone questions OP on what they're going to do now. OP says thank you to everyone who shared their advice and opinions in the comments and DMs. Even the more blunt and rude ones letting me know that in not acting, I was hurting my girlfriend as well. She called me a few minutes ago and I was happy to hear her voice. I'm still crying from getting to. She sounded quiet, not like her usual bubbly self, and she didn't say much other than to ask if I was okay and if we could talk tomorrow. I wanted nothing more than to keep talking to her. I apologized over and over, but she thanked me for apologizing and kept changing the subject to where I wanted to meet her tomorrow. We decided on this nice crap and tea place that she likes, one of our first date spots, and then she hung up. I know now that I can't stay impartial. My aunt's going to be at my mum's soon, and I've been pacing my living room thinking of how I'm going to approach this with my family. I don't want to be rude, but I won't let my tone or language stop me from doing what I should have done in the first place. Ian has given a lot of excuses, but none of them make up for the BS he's put her through, and I let it slide for no good reason. After hearing her voice and how down she sounded, I feel ready for war. She might break up with me, and after reading all your comments, I'm disgusted with my actions, and I'd leave me too. And we got an update, which comes 2 days later, but I do feel like the way that she sounded in that particular phone call, obviously I don't know the full details, but it feels like this is going to be a breakup. But a couple of comments before we do move to the actual update. The Bookish Foodie says, you don't actually need any advice because if Lola has even an ounce of sense, she's your ex. Since this seems to have escaped your notice, your brother is either the biggest arsehole or in need of a good diagnosis, or both. I wish Lola all the best in life. May the idiots be far from her and may she never have a bad hair day. Don't139 says you do realise that your brother knew full well the extent of her sleep impediment. Knew she had triggers and used them against her. Once you've explained to him why he can't do that and he keeps doing it, how can you defend him and try to act like he didn't have malicious intent? Of course he did. or he just didn't care about anything other than to see her scared. Not matter how it would scare and scar her. He is a jerk through and through. You should already be dumped, really. You found your brother in your girlfriend's room, her fighting him off, and you didn't even stand up for her. Twyla May says, a man approaching a sleeping woman with a mask on is not a prank. It is a threat. I once straight up broke a contractor's nose in a fit of absolute terror because he came into my bedroom when I was napping. He should not have been in the house at all, let alone the bedroom, and hovered over me with a COVID mask on. I woke up and immediately began beating at his face because a man with a mask approaching you in your sleep is a fucking threat. The project manager immediately fired him, and no one even considered for a second that I might be in the wrong, because it's common sense to not menace a sleeping woman. And if you decide to do it anyway, then the consequences are completely on you. In the words of the project manager, I'd have been well within my rights to do a hell of a lot more than break his nose. Being a woman and waking up to a masked man is not a joke, it's terrifying. Your brother is a fucking menace, and he seems to be unnervingly obsessed with your girlfriend. Even if this ends your relationship with her, and I honestly would not be shocked if it did, because you're not being supportive of her at all. I think you need to reconsider your beliefs about your brother's mental stability. He doesn't sound like a safe person. Enthusiasm Low says, not sure what advice you are looking for, but your brother sounds like he is a 9-year-old. Dude is worried about y'all's age gap. Maybe he needs to be more concerned about his maturity. No one thinks pranks are funny, especially the person being pranked. Who the fuck messes with someone that is sleeping? That's creepy. Your brother is fucked up and he is jealous of her or is crushing on her. Good lord. I guess my advice to you is grow a set of balls and distance yourself from your jacked up family, or split up with your girlfriend so she is free to find someone with a more normal family. And one more comment from Cream Pie Legacy, who says, it's very strange that your brother would immediately turn the whole party against her, instead of apologizing for scaring her and violating her boundaries. It's even stranger that he immediately started telling your family. This is hideously manipulative and abusive behavior. As a matter of fact, your brother seems to have been escalating this manipulation and abuse for months, with little to no consequences from you or anybody around you. Your brother has taken advantage of your sleeping girlfriend in ways that you still have no clarity on, and we're having a discussion about what. You're asking us here how to convince your family that she isn't a threat. You know how that sounds. When for all you know, your brother snuck into your bedroom knowing that your girlfriend was asleep, disguising his appearance, and could have made attempts at sexual assault or worse. What kind of man are you, OP? This makes me sick. So, a couple of days later, OP does update the post and says, to everyone who has reached out to me with advice on how I can learn from this shitstorm, thank you. To everyone that has helped me understand that just because family has done a lot for you, it does not mean you're indebted to them and can't have an opinion or life of my own. Thank you. To everyone that has reached out to me telling me that I'm such an idiot. I suck as a boyfriend. They hope Lola leaves me. They wish she beat both of us up. Thank you. This won't be a full update as a lot has happened yesterday, and frankly, I don't have the time to get into everything with police and packing to deal with. In short, while a lot of you advise I wait for Lola to tell me her side before I confront my family, they all came over to my apartment yesterday morning while I was writing out a list of questions for them. I was supposed to go over the night before, but I texted them saying I needed time and if we could meet later today. But they obviously didn't like that and showed up unannounced. The fighting started almost immediately and I initially was thrown off by them being there. But I matched energy and started yelling back at them for their predatory, enabling behavior of Ian and how I couldn't believe they'd side with him over this. Golden rainbow baby aside. My aunt got in my face about disrespect, while my mum cried and brother cussed me out. But I pointed at my computer and yelled back at them that if they genuinely believed Lola was the problem, then they were victim-blaming idiots that I wanted nothing more to do with. My mum kept crying, but I got my aunt's attention with my computer. She got a close look at the screen. I was going through comments to write up all the questions, and after a minute she turned back to us, really my brother, and said, "What is this?" I explained Reddit and that I posted for help. Ian then stopped comforting mum and pushed past me to get to the computer, asking what right I had sharing family business on the internet. My aunt stopped him and asked, "Why didn't you tell us that you were alone with her? You never told me she was sleeping." To say all hell broke loose would be an understatement. Like a switch, my mum almost immediately stopped loudly crying and looked over at my aunt confused. Ian started shaking his head and reiterating his version of the story, which, listening to it, was infuriatingly off. I figured out that not only did he tell mum and our extended family a version of the story in which Lola was all too violent with him when he jumped from behind a door to give her a little spook, but he left out the details that put him in any bad light. I started yelling again, calling him a liar, but he started crying and called me a liar who was just trying to lie for my girlfriend. At the sight of my brother crying, my mum pleaded with us to stop, my aunt scrolling more on the screen. It felt like both a minute and forever that we were yelling in each other's faces and how the night went. How I felt he always used his tears to get his way. Him yelling at me about how ungrateful I was, etc. Unfortunately, I forgot where we were and didn't keep the volume down at all, and sometime later there was a knock on the door. I didn't know who it could be. Some dumb part hoped Lola, though I knew it wasn't. It was 2 officers answering to a noise complaint from one of the neighbours. Feeling stupid, I plainly explained that no one was hurt and were having a heated argument, but that no one was in danger. I did let them look around and talk to my mum and brother, but my aunt spoke up when it looked like they were just going to give us a warning. "Actually, I think it's good you're here. My nephew has something he'd like to report," she mentioned to Ian, whose eyes looked between her and the officers quickly. My aunt still looked as angry when she first arrived, but she was glaring at Ian. "You know, hypothetically, if someone touches or hits you without permission or justified reason, that's reason you can and should report. Is there anything you want to say?" And there was silence, eyes moving to everyone around the room. My aunt didn't look encouraging in a report. It hit me that she was calling him out. I stared at him. His eyes were bulging. He looked as panicked as the other night when he was trying to get away from Lola. One of the officers asked if everything was alright, and like clockwork, Ian started bawling his eyes out. My mum asked him what was wrong. I told her she had to stop babying him. He's been lying to you guys. My aunt asking him again if he had anything to report. "You were up in arms against this girl this morning. Where'd all that fire go? Did she hit you or not?" It took a while of us pushing him, but he finally admitted to the room that he didn't have anything to report because he didn't feel like she'd be rightly prosecuted. His next story sounded closer to the one I knew, where he'd admitted to knowing Lola had gone to sleep and wanted to scare her so she'd wake up. I still don't believe his reason why he wanted her up, that he put on a mask. I asked if he knew she had a phobia. He said he knew she found them creepy, and that no, there was no one else in the room with them. He couldn't get any of our friends to agree to the prank, so he did it himself. He said he started making sounds against the wall. The bed was against the wall and then got closer to scream in her face. He said she woke up and surprised him because he thought the stress and panic would cause her to scream or hide, but she went for his throat instead. He described his beating to everyone in the room, some of which I saw had the officers look at each other then back at him. That's when I pushed the door in. The door wasn't locked, I just panicked, didn't think to use the doorknob properly. I just threw my body at the door, and the rest of his story is what I was there for. I'm sure if the police weren't there, I would have hit him. I know I would have. My mum started crying even more when he said she was sleeping, a fact that changed his entire story. And my aunt chewed him out, everyone scolding at him for his stupidity and arsehole behaviour. While the officer explained that it sounded like if what he said was true, Lola acted in self-defense, and that not only was what he did juvenile, but one of the officers asked mum's permission to question him more as his behaviour was concerning, and they wanted to make sure he wasn't a danger to himself or others. My aunt and I told the cops he was 22 at the same time, an adult, and that they didn't need her permission. He looks a lot younger than he is. Upon hearing his age, one of the officers sat down with him and asked him to talk through his thought process. And the other officer explained to mum and aunt that Lola could press charges given Ian's story. My aunt still looked pissed while my mum cried about being confused and over her baby. My mum literally looked at me and said that she didn't understand how a baby could do this. I already knew I was deep in the bullshit of this family, but I realized that I couldn't grow in the earth that poisoned me, and I needed to get away if I was actually going to get better and stay better. My mum kept fussing with my aunt and another uncle on the phone, crying over the drama, while I texted a friend of mine who lives across the city if I could stay with him. I was feeling overwhelmed with all of them and didn't want to be within a few minutes of the source of the problem. I also wanted to give myself space to think and understand with a clear head. I'm typing this between breaks of me packing. My aunt saw me in the room doing this, but she didn't stop me. She only asked if I'd spoken to Lola about this, and I told her I haven't yet, but I had plans to later on. She told me she was sorry for believing my brother without listening to any other account, and that she hopes Lola is okay. So then it was just me in the apartment. The cops left after taking a statement from my brother and I. My mum left with my brother, still crying, my brother calling me an arsehole, the world's worst brother, and my aunt gave me a hug, apologising again for how she and her sister acted, and told me that I don't owe her anything, that she'd like to know that Lola's okay. With everyone gone, I went to my friend's house and I'll be there until further notice. He couldn't make it to the party, but he heard about it from multiple people. As for Lola, yes, I did meet with her yesterday. As excited as I was to see her, I know that most of you were telling me that she was going to break up with me, so I'd been preparing for that. Whether I ended up single or not, I wanted to make sure she was okay above all. I know I don't deserve her as a girlfriend, and I'd much rather she not be with me if it meant she was safe. She brought a friend with her and we all sat and talked. I showed both of them the Reddit post and Lola asked that I not share any more information about her until she feels ready herself. She's on Reddit for gaming and general scrolling fairly often, and let me know that if she came across this story without me having told her, she would have been pissed. She did, however, read a lot of the commenters worried about her and wanted to express to all of you that while upset, hurt and mixed up with emotions, she's okay overall. She doesn't like that I posted about her without at least giving her a heads up, but after I offered to take the post down, she only asked that I give her time and to leave her personal life and opinions out of anything beyond what I've already said here, until she says otherwise. In short, she did break up with me. When I told her about the police telling us that she could press charges, a friend laughed and told her that they were more than aware. She thanks everyone for their concern and told me she really hopes we both learn from this. This section was approved by her. So yeah, unless I'm forgetting something, that's all. All I can have and give right now. My mum has been calling and texting me, telling me that this whole ordeal has made Ian and her a wreck, and she can't believe I'd let her girl do this to us. I blocked my brother right after he left my apartment, and I just blocked her. My aunt has let me know she had talked to her, but I don't know how that's going to go. I understand that it wasn't what everyone wants, but none of this is anything I want either. To everyone who has nothing but bad things to say about me, I get it. I'm an arsehole. I appreciate any and all advice I've been given. I'm going to be taking a break from not only the BS in my life, but this Reddit stuff too. I know I have a lot of growing to do, and I can't do that in this environment. Thank you again to everyone. Now, I was suspicious in the first part of the post if the family actually, especially the aunt, knew the full story of the situation, because surely anyone being told the truth here would step back and go, what the fuck, that's not right. But for people to be taking the brother's side, and I know we've seen that level of crazy before in many of these stories, but I always look at it from a point of view of like, and if someone told me that story, that's what they were going to do, I'm going to sneak into a room and try and prank my brother's girlfriend whilst they're sleeping. I know they got a sleep disorder, and I know they're scared of spiders. It was actually a phobia. And I'm going to creep about this room and try and prank them in air quotes. If someone was to stand there and tell me they're just about to do that, I'd be thinking, what the fuck is going through your head, mate? That's some creepy ass level behavior. But what do you guys make of this situation? I wasn't really surprised by the breakup in the end there. I think it was inevitable. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.